Welcome into this special edition of ESPN FC. Craig Burley, Shaka Hislop, myself, Kay Murray. What a dramatic final day that was in the Championship. Millwall had everything going for them. They were in a playoff position to start the day. They were at home. They raced off to a 3-1 lead, and in the end, they lost that lead, Craig. Just absolute scenes at the Den.
They had it in their hand, didn't they? It seemed they had a perfect start, as you mentioned. They also had a goal chopped off for offside, which was very tight. Don't forget, there's no VAR. So that was a close call. But then still to be 3-1 up, I think it was, at half-time. Being outplayed, I think, for most of the first half. Two contrasting styles, you know, Millwall more pace and power and get it forward early and get Watmore running, and Blackburn playing the football, and it was that football that came through to the fore in the end for that amazing 4-3 victory for them. And for Blackburn, they're on the same amount of points as Sunderland, but their goal difference is poorer.
Vastly inferior.
Vastly inferior, but they'll look back to that poor form of the last 6 weeks of the season and think, oh, well, if we'd have picked a point up there or a point up there, we could easily have made it. So to go away from home and win in the manner in which they did and ultimately come away with being in the Championship next year still has got to be a huge disappointment for them. Sunderland
sneaking in, and I suppose Tony Mowbray will have to give his former club a little thank there. Blackburn Rovers, his former club, now he's at Sunderland. It's Sunderland sneaking into the playoffs. I say sneaking in, they got the job done. A 3-0 win for them over Preston North End, Shaka.
Yeah, and very convincing in doing that. I thought Sunderland were the better of the two teams from beginning to end in that one. Maybe a little bit surprising how long it took for them to break the deadlock, but once it did, they never really looked back. And credit to them going on the road, knowing that they need a result, but knowing that they also need a favour to be done by Blackburn. I thought Sunderland were simply outstanding. So credit to them, and good luck to them in the playoffs.
That had to be a horrible feeling as well, in a sense, for Sunderland, that they were, by a long shot, the best team in this game. Close in the first half, frustrating for Tony Mowbray's side. Very young side he's got there. But to go 3-0 up and still not know if you're making the playoffs until that word come through, and for those that heard the Sunderland fans at the end, word had came through that Blackburn had scored 4 to make it 4-3 and that game had finished. Only and only at that time did they know that they were promoted. So it was the situation that they were in, but it's a difficult one because, yes, you have an element of control and you take care of your own business, but then you have to sit back and wait. But that's a really big club, potentially back in the Premier League, along with the others that are in the playoffs. And he's done an amazing job there, Tony Mowbray. They play some really slick football.
To your point, can you imagine the Sunderland dressing room at half-time? You know, you're sitting there, you halfway to getting your job done, but you see Millwall 3, Blackburn 1, and you can only assume one thing at that point, that Millwall are going to just continue as they had done at home. But what a turnaround from Blackburn to do Sunderland that favour. And then as the news comes through while you're on the pitch, you're trying to manage those emotions. Listen, there's something about the last day of a season with so much at stake that you just cannot duplicate.
Yeah, Sunderland have had a rough few years, it's fair to say. That'll definitely give the fans something to smile about. Jan Fiatov and Julien Laurens were watching these games for us as well. What a dramatic final day, Jan.
Yeah, I've been involved in, like the boys, been involved in some of these last games of the season. And it was an interesting point that Shaka was doing there, because it's all in your head, isn't it? And Sunderland to half-time is 0-0, and then they see this 3-1. So Tony will then just tell his boys, just go out and enjoy it. You never know what's happening. And maybe for a young team like Sunderland, that is the message you want to have. And you have to say it's deservedly when you're winning 3-0 at Preston. And I had my most part of my eyes at the Den. And we have to be honest. I mean, Millwall had, was it three finishes? Yes, they could have had another goal in the first half with no via VAR. We don't know if that was right. But I got a suspicious that I've seen a lot of Blackburn Rovers this season, and I've been also a bit unlucky. They play some good football. But at the end of the day, big cliche, you are where you deserve. And I think this game was a symbol of Blackburn's season, and now we're going into semi-finals. We're going into Borough playing Coventry again. You can end up, you have a FA Cup final, Manchester United against Manchester City. You can get a playoff final between Sunderland and Middlesbrough. Can you believe it? I mean, there is so much drama to be added to this season. It's unbelievable.
Exactly. It's not over yet, is it? Did you enjoy that, Jules?
I thought it was amazing. To be fair, I go with everything that the boys have said so far. In the drama, we kind of expected it. We said, me and Craig, that we felt Sunderland maybe could do something this afternoon. Even at 3-1 up for Millwall, you could feel that Blackburn, with a player like Ben Bryant Jazz, who's such a special player who will go to, no offense to Blackburn, to bigger things now in the summer. You knew that anything was possible to do it that way, and now to have the playoff with the teams that are in there, like Jan said, imagine a Borough Sunderland game. I mean, that would be so exceptional. And for Sunderland, obviously being promoted from League One in this season in the Championship was something. If they get back-to-back promotion from League One to the Premier League in the space of 2 years, that would be even more special. So well done to them, a young team. For their fans, it's incredible as well. And this is obviously the 50th anniversary of the FA Cup win in 1973. So it could be a very, very special anniversary in a special season.
So many stories there, though, when you look at it, you know. We were talking earlier, watching the games. Coventry, when Shaq and I played, were a staple diet of the Premier League. And Jan. They were mid-table, cup run, never seemed to get relegated. And all of a sudden they found themselves out, and it's been a while. Luton Town, again, in the 80s, were it's a tiny, tiny club down there. But they had some big players back in the day. And for them to go back to the Premier League, and then, of course, Middlesbrough and Sunderland, who've seen the top tier of English football in more recent times, you'll have a little hankering for Sunderland to make it up, will you not?
No.
No, no,
You,
no,
Jan, listen, Jan.
no.
You two.
The only thing they have is a Borough legend leading them right now.
Tony.
Exactly. Well said, Kay.
Well, Tony Mowbray came in August from Blackburn, and I watched a lot of Tony's teams when he was managing in Scotland in my early days working in TV. And he managed Hibs for quite a few years, and his teams have always played, even though he was a big, you know, tough centre-back, his teams have always played nice football. Wherever he's been, it hasn't always been successful, but his philosophy is always to pass it quickly, pass it from the back, and his teams are very entertaining to watch. And I think we've seen that to some extent. In fact, I saw it last year or the year before with Blackburn. I went to watch Blackburn play when he was manager at Nottingham Forest in the Championship. And they outplayed Forest at the City Ground. And that's kind of Tony's style. So for him to go in there, they're just up from League One, as Jill said, and to have a chance to go back to the Premier League. Because that club really, and I don't mean this as the supporters or the players, but for a long period behind the scenes, and we saw, for those that saw the Netflix documentary, it was a bit of a joke.
That's a big point, isn't it?
Okay.
Sunderland till I die. They've been through such a tough time.
The way that it was been run and the ownership and the change, it was a comedic. There was a comedic value to this. So it's nice to see that on the field, even though the budget's small and there's a lot of young players, it's nice to see they're getting some success so far on the field.
So you do watch football documentaries?
Yes.
I saw that one, yeah.
Just that one.
Okay.
I know. All jokes aside, it is a great
But that wasn't
story
so much
for them,
about
for
football.
everything
That was about behind the scenes,
yeah,
wasn't it?
It really was. Jan?
Yeah, but Kay, I mean, we, the two of us, we know what will happen. There should be a new documentary about Sunderland till I die in the playoff final against Borough. Borough got the most...
Don't start jinxing it, Jan.
Borough got the most promising young manager. Carrick has done ever so well. Talking about... Yes, Tony has done he's a hard worker. I love the way his attitude to the game is. He learned that at Borough anyway. But anyway, we'll see Borough go through to this. They play Coventry. They will go through to the playoff final. 100%. I can guarantee you straight away now. And not Kay. I'm not jinxing anything.
It was smooth sailing today for them, Jan.
Middlesbrough will be in the Premier League next season. I'm going to be there at the first game of the season. Borough will play Manchester City. 100%.
And I honestly don't think I can cope hearing this, I don't think I can cope with Middlesbrough getting promoted, because we'll have Jan.
And Sheffield United.
We'll have
Sheffield
Jan,
United as well.
we'll have Jan piping on about Sheffield United and Middlesbrough. We've got Stevie piping on about Liverpool. We've got Nairn piping on about Man City. To be fair to Shaq, he doesn't mention West Ham too often. There's going to be there's going to be zero objectivity left in this show.
For what it's worth, I don't see Middlesbrough or Sunderland in the Premier
Yeah,
League.
he's like,
I'm a
both
Luton and
teams
Coventry fan all of a sudden for the next couple of weeks.
Oh, come on, it's the North East. It's a hotbed of football. It's got all the best fans up in that part of the world.
They do.
Exactly.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.